You ever stop and think, what's really going on in my brain when I have that morning coffee? Or, beer after work? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on how these substances interact with our brains. And well, what's happening in there is probably not what you think.
I mean, it's a pretty straightforward question, right? But the answer is fascinatingly complex. How can one chemical make you feel like you can take on the world, while another just makes you want to melt into the couch? What's the secret here?
So it turns out there isn't one single secret. It's more like each drug has its own unique playbook, a specific set of tactics it uses to manipulate, mimic, or completely block the natural signals that are supposed to be running your mind and body. And today, we're going to break that playbook down, piece by piece.
All right, first up, the chemicals that put everything into high gear, the stimulants. We're talking about the substances that make your brain fire faster, making you feel way more alert, focused, and just energized.
Let's start with the world's favorite drug, caffeine. And here's the thing that might surprise you. It doesn't actually give you energy. Not really. It's more of a chemical impersonator. It gets into your brain and physically blocks the receptors for a compound called adenosine. And adenosine is what tells your brain, hey, it's time to feel tired. So you're not actually gaining any energy, you're just hiding your exhaustion for a little while. And this playbook, I think we all know it by heart. First, there's the onset, right? You start to feel sharper, a little more alive. Then comes the peak, where you're just in the zone, focused, motivated. And then, yes, the come down. That classic crash where you get irritable and all that adenosine you were holding back comes flooding in, reminding you just how tired you really are.
And that peak feeling, it's not some kind of overwhelming joy, is it? It's more like a sense of control, of clarity, confidence in a cup. The world just feels a little bit easier to manage. And that, right there, is the real draw of caffeine. Okay, now let's see how that playbook completely changes when we jump from a pretty mild stimulant to a really powerful one. So while caffeine is busy blocking tiredness, cocaine is playing a whole different game. It basically hijacks your brain's entire reward system, flooding it with the pleasure chemical dopamine. And this is the key part, it stops your brain from cleaning it up. The result is just an overwhelming tidal wave of pleasure.
And that means you get this immediate, intense rush. Your brain feels electric, invincible. But that high is incredibly short-lived. Your brain just burns through all that feel-good fuel so fast that the crash, it's not just about feeling tired. It can be a sudden, terrifying dive into anxiety and even severe depression. So now let's flip the script. Instead of speeding the brain up, let's talk about slowing it down. We're moving into the world of depressants and opioids. These are the substances that quiet the noise and numb the senses.
Alcohol is probably the downer we're most familiar with. You can think of it like turning down the volume on the communication between your brain cells. And at first, that feels great. It quiets down your anxieties, makes you feel more social, more relaxed. But that feeling is really just an illusion. As your brain continues to slow down, so do your judgment and your physical control. Opioids, though, they are in a completely different class of downer. The feeling isn't about being social or confident. It's about this deep, profound calm. It's often described as just total relief from all pain, all stress, a warmth that feels like absolute, unconditional safety. But that feeling comes with a devastating price tag, withdrawal. And with opioids, we're not just talking about a bad mood or a craving. No, the brain has been fundamentally rewired to believe the drug is essential for its very survival. And without it, the body just revolts. It's a state of profound physical and mental agony that's almost impossible to overstate.
Okay, so our third and final category. This one isn't about speeding up or slowing down. This one is about changing the very fabric of how you perceive the world. Let's talk about hallucinogens.
So how does a tiny chemical literally bend reality? Well, in the case of something like LSD, it latches onto the parts of your brain that process what you see and feel, your serotonin system. It doesn't just invent things out of thin air, it completely changes how your brain interprets the signals it's already getting from the world around you. And the effect of that is, well, it's profound. People often describe it not as seeing things that aren't there, but as the basic rules of reality just becoming flexible. Patterns start to move, colors shift, the whole world can feel like it's alive. But maybe the most radical effect of all is what it does to your sense of self. You know that inner voice, that little narrator in your head that defines who you are? It can just fade away. People often describe this feeling of becoming one with everything around them, a total dissolution of the ego. So what decides whether that experience is beautiful or utterly terrifying? It's not the drug. The drug is just the catalyst. It's your own mindset, your environment, your emotional state when you take it. That's what shapes the entire journey. Magic mushrooms, with their active compound psilocybin, work in a very similar way on that same serotonin system. But a lot of people report that the experience feels more grounded, more organic. It's often described as pulling back a curtain on what's already inside your own mind, creating this deep, profound connection to your own emotions or to the natural world. So we've gone through the uppers, the downers, and the mind benders, but every single one of these playbooks, no matter how different, has the same final chapter, the cost. Every single altered state has a price. And that price is always there. The focus you get from caffeine, you pay for it with the crash. That brief moment of calm from nicotine, you pay for it with a constant nagging craving. The confidence from alcohol costs you a hangover. And as you go up the ladder to more powerful substances, the price just gets exponentially higher, from crushing depression to a life-shattering, unbearable withdrawal.
So, if you strip away all the different chemicals, all the specific receptors, what's the one single crucial thing to take away from all of this?
It's this. There is simply no free lunch in neuroscience. Every single time you use a substance to change the way you feel, your brain has to work to rebalance itself. Every shortcut to focus, or calm, or euphoria comes with a biological invoice. And believe me, the brain always keeps score.